Princess Iliana of the Verdant Throne had never known true fear until the day the Reavers came. She had grown up on Sylvaris, a lush jungle world at the heart of the Sylvani Commonwealth. A peaceful, gentle civilization of green-skinned beings who had long ago abandoned the ways of war. The Sylvani were healers, growers, philosophers. They had no great fleets, no powerful weapons. They believed in harmony, in diplomacy, in the sanctity of life. For 1,000 years, their peaceful ways had served them well. But peace is a fragile thing in a galaxy that contains monsters. The Reavers were exactly that, monsters. A nomadic horde of brutal raiders who swept from system to system, plundering, enslaving, and destroying. They had no civilization, no homeworld, no purpose beyond conquest and cruelty, and they had set their sights on Sylvaris. When the Reaver fleet appeared in the skies above the Verdant Throne, the gentle Sylvani had no way to fight back. Their diplomats tried to negotiate. The Reavers answered by burning the diplomatic envoy from the sky. Their philosophers pleaded for mercy. The Reavers laughed and began their invasion, and Princess Iliana, heir to a peaceful throne, watched in helpless horror as her world began to fall. She was not entirely without hope. Months earlier, the Sylvani Commonwealth had signed a modest treaty with the distant Terran coalition, humanity. As part of that agreement, a small contingent of human personnel had been stationed on Sylvaris. Among them was a man named Kane. Iliana had been assigned to act as his liaison, and over the months, they had grown close. Marcus was quiet and reserved, with watchful eyes and a calm demeanor. He worked as a security consultant, though Iliana had never quite understood what that meant. She had never seen him do anything that seemed remotely dangerous. He was gentle with her people, patient, kind. He helped tend the gardens. He learned the Sylvani language. He seemed, to her, like just another peaceful soul. She had no idea what he truly was. When the Reavers came, Iliana ran to find him, terrified, as the sky burned above her. "Marcus," she cried, finding him in the palace gardens. "The Reavers, they're invading. My people can't fight them. What do we do?" Marcus looked up at the burning sky. His calm expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Something cold and hard that she had never seen before. "How many ships?" he asked quietly. "Dozens," Iliana stammered. "Hundreds of warriors. They're landing in the capital. They're killing everyone." Tears streamed down her face. "Marcus, we have no army. We have no weapons. We're going to die." Marcus stood up slowly, and when he spoke, his voice had changed. Gone was the gentle gardener, and in his place was something else entirely. "No," he said, "you're not." What Iliana did not know, what the Sylvani did not know, was who Marcus Kane really was. He was not a security consultant that was a cover. In truth, Marcus was a member of humanity's most elite military force, a special operations soldier with 2 decades of combat experience across a dozen war zones. He had been quietly stationed on Sylvaris precisely because humanity, unlike the trusting Sylvani, understood that the galaxy was dangerous. The coalition had placed him there to protect their new allies in case of exactly this kind of threat. Marcus had spent months hiding his true nature, blending in, playing the part of a peaceful civilian. But the gentle gardener had always been a mask. Underneath it was one of the deadliest warriors humanity had ever produced. And now the mask came off. "Iliana," he said, his voice steady and commanding, "I need you to listen to me very carefully. Get your father and the royal family to the deep shelters beneath the palace. Now, tell your people to hide. Do not try to fight. Do not try to negotiate." He was already moving, heading toward a locked storage container in the corner of his quarters, a container Iliana had never been allowed to open. "Leave the Reavers to me." "To you?" Iliana said, disbelieving. "Marcus, there are hundreds of them. You're one man." "A gardener." Marcus keyed open the container. Inside was not gardening equipment. Inside was an arsenal. Weapons and armor unlike anything Iliana had ever seen, technology that gleamed with deadly purpose. "I was never a gardener, Iliana," he said quietly, beginning to strip away his civilian clothes and pull on the matte black combat armor. "I'm a soldier, the best my people make, and I came here to protect yours." He sealed the armor and lifted a weapon that hummed with contained power. "Now go, get to safety, and whatever you hear out there." His eyes met hers, hard as steel. "Don't come out until it's over." Princess Iliana did as she was told. She fled to the deep shelters, gathering her father and her people, and they huddled together in the darkness as the sounds of slaughter echoed above. And then, Slowly, the sounds began to change. At first, there were the screams of her people, the roar of Reaver weapons, the crash of destruction. But then gradually, a new sound entered the symphony of war, the precise, rhythmic crack of human weaponry. And one by one, the Reaver war cries began to turn into something else: confusion, then panic, then terror. Iliana, unable to bear not knowing, crept to a hidden observation port that looked out over the capital, and what she saw, she would never forget for the rest of her life. Marcus moved through the burning city like a force of nature. The Reavers had come expecting a helpless, peaceful people. They had encountered, instead, a single human soldier who killed with a ruthless, terrifying efficiency they had never imagined. He moved through them like a shadow-given form, his weapons finding their marks with impossible precision. He used the terrain, the smoke, the chaos. He struck from angles they never anticipated, vanished before they could return fire, appeared again where they least expected. The Reavers outnumbered him 100 to 1. It did not matter. Iliana watched as a horde that had conquered a dozen worlds, that had laughed at the pleas of the peaceful Sylvani, broke apart against the fury of a single human. She watched their confidence turn to fear, their fear turned to panic, their panic turned to a desperate rout. And through it all, Marcus never stopped, calm, relentless, utterly unstoppable. The gentle gardener who had tended her flowers was, she realized, the most dangerous being she had ever seen. The battle for Sylvaris lasted 6 hours. By the end of it, the Reaver invasion force, hundreds of warriors who had descended on the peaceful world expecting easy slaughter, had been shattered. Those who survived fled back to their ships in blind terror, broadcasting frantic warnings to the rest of their fleet. The Reaver commander, watching his elite warriors broken by a single human, made the only sane decision available to him. He ordered a full retreat. The Reaver fleet, which had come to conquer and destroy, fled from Sylvaris as fast as their engines could carry them, leaving behind their dead and their shattered confidence. They would tell stories, afterward, of the human demon who had defended the green world. Stories that spread through the Reaver hordes and the galaxy's underworld, until the very name of humanity became something to fear. When it was over, Princess Iliana emerged from the shelters into the smoking ruins of her capital, and she found Marcus standing in the center of it all, his armor scarred and blackened. Surrounded by the evidence of a battle that should have been impossible, he was breathing hard, he was wounded, but he was alive, and he had saved her entire world. Iliana approached him slowly, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and disbelief and something close to fear. "You," she whispered. What are you?" Marcus pulled off his helmet, and beneath it was the same tired, gentle face she had always known, the face of the man who had tended her gardens and learned her language and been kind to her people. "I'm a human," he said simply. "We're not always gentle, Iliana. When we have to be, we can be the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. But we try to use that for the right reasons." He looked out over the world he had saved, to protect the people who can't protect themselves. In the aftermath, everything changed. The Sylvani Commonwealth, which had believed for 1,000 years that peace meant defenselessness, learned a hard and necessary lesson. They had thought that abandoning war made them good. But Marcus showed them another truth, that there was a difference between choosing peace and being helpless, and that sometimes the gentlest people needed someone willing to stand between them and the monsters. The alliance between the Sylvani and humanity deepened beyond anything either had imagined. The Sylvani came to see humans not as primitive warriors, but as something more complex, a people who could be gentle and fierce, peaceful and deadly, who understood that protecting the innocent sometimes required strength as well as kindness. And the galaxy took notice. The story of Sylvaris spread far and wide, how a single human soldier had broken a Reaver invasion, how humanity had defended its peaceful allies with a ferocity that made even the monsters flee. Other vulnerable civilizations began to seek humanity's protection. Other predators began to think twice before preying on worlds that humans had befriended. Humanity, it turned out, made very good guardians, and very dangerous enemies. As for Princess Iliana and Marcus, their relationship changed too. She had known him as a gentle gardener. She had seen him become a terrifying warrior. And in the aftermath, as he recovered from his wounds and helped her people rebuild, She came to understand that he was both, and that the combination was something extraordinary. "I was afraid of you," she admitted to him one evening, months later, as they walked through the gardens that had been replanted after the battle. "When I saw what you could do, I didn't recognize you." "I know," Marcus said quietly. "That's why I hid it for so long. I didn't want you to see that part of me. I didn't want you to be afraid." "I'm not afraid anymore," Iliana said. She took his hand. "Because I understand now. You didn't unleash that power for yourself. You didn't do it for glory, or conquest, or cruelty. You did it to protect us. To protect me." She looked up at him. "The same hands that can break an army are the hands that tend these flowers. That's not something to fear, Marcus. That's something beautiful." Marcus looked down at her, and for the first time since the battle, his hard eyes softened back into the gentle gaze she had first known. "I'd do it again," he said, 1,000 times over, to keep you safe." And there, in the gardens that he had saved, the princess who had frozen in fear and the human who had unleashed his true power stood together, proof that the greatest strength of all is not the power to destroy, but the choice to use that power to protect the ones you love. Princess Iliana had once believed that gentleness and strength were opposites. Marcus had taught her they were one and the same, and she would never feel afraid again, as long as he stood beside her. The end.